guys, we are back. We got everything all sanded here. Let me get my camera here situated. Okay, we got everything all sanded here. This is probably the most important part right here is the sanding. Because you want everything to fit together. We're going to dry fit everything together to make sure it all fits and moves before we actually start gluing. So I sanded the sides right here. Got everything all nice and smooth and everything, and same with the top pieces here. Now, remember I said this is a 3/8 hole that we drilled in here for the frame, and these are 3/8 dowels, little pieces of dowels. Now, in my past videos, I said just because you drill a 3/8 hole, it doesn't mean a 3/8 dowel fits in it. It just depends on where you buy your dowels at. So I took and I sanded these dowels. And I just kind of went like this here over and over and over and over and sanded these dowels. And I made sure they fit in this frame right here. They need to fit in this frame because that is where you're going to put your frame together like this here to hold the wheels on your car. Just like that. And the same with the front wheel. You're going to want that dowel to slide in there nice and easy. So, because during the process of putting this together and gluing it and making it, you might have to take things back and forth, in and out. So, you got these dowels sanded to fit in there really nice. Now, the 1/8" dowels that we have here, I did the same thing. I sanded them really good, made sure that they fit through these holes of the frame. Right here, they fit through the top. And that's what you want to make sure. Now, you want to make sure they go all the way. Let's do the bottom one first here. We want to make sure they go all the way through and they fit really nice in here. Because all these are going to fit in here once this gets together. They all fit. They slide in there. Now these dowels, I want to say, these dowels are longer than what they need to be. We're going to cut them off as we need them. But you can see that this top frame goes on like this here. It goes through this one here, and see how nice that goes through that 1/8" hole? That's what you want. We're going to glue it, but we want to make sure that they go in there really nice. And that slides in that one, and then it comes out through this one here, and then this top frame right here goes in like this. And then you're starting to get the shape of the car right here. Okay? But nothing is glued. We're just dry fitting everything. Okay, and then we have this dowel here. This is the 1/8" dowel that goes in the front. And that slides through really nice. Comes up to this one and slides into that one really nice. And all these dowels are longer than what they need to be. And it's starting to look like a Flintstone car right now. But everything's longer than what it needs to be. I sanded the windshield, and then here is the steering wheel, and what I use is I use an axle peg because I got a lot of these axle pegs right here. I use an axle peg to put that steering wheel on. The tenon on this axle peg is 7/32. So I drilled me a hole, and then what I'll end up doing is I'll put that steering wheel on that dashboard, and what I'll do is I'll just push it back like this here and create that little gap, and I'll glue it like that. And I'll do that before I put the dashboard in. I'll have that all glued. The seat too, I sanded the seat all up nice. The seat and the dashboard, they have to be exactly the same width. Exactly. Because these two items here are going to determine the width of the car. On the car right here, the only part that's glued to the frame is the seat and the dashboard right here. So whatever width that is, that's going to be the width of the car. And that's usually 3 inches. This is exactly 3 inches wide. And the same with the dashboard, 3 inches wide. So they got to be exactly the same, because what's going to happen is this seat is going to sit in here. Well, let's widen this out just a little bit. This seat is going to sit in here. We'll go a little bit more here. And this dashboard's going to sit in here. And it's going to be squeezed together and glued. I don't know if you can see that, but that's going to be squeezed together and glued. So the width of your seat and your dashboard is going to determine the width of your car. So them have to be the same, because that's going to be the first thing that's going to get glued in, so you can put your wheels on next. But before we glue them seats and stuff in, let's go to the wheels here. Let me show you what I got for the wheels. Now remember I said we have all the wheels, and they turned out really nice, perfectly round wheels. The plan calls for, okay, not the wheels. Okay, the wheels turned out really good. They're 3/4 inch pieces. They're 4 pieces, perfectly round. Now you got to glue these all together. Now what I usually do is I'm going to throw some glue on these, and I'm going to show you exactly how we're going to glue this together, because I'm going to glue these because they got to sit a little bit, and I'll show you exactly. Take your glue, and you don't need a whole bunch of this glue, just a little bit, because you don't want too much to squeeze out. You just want a little bit on here. You're just going to get some glue on here, not too much. Now we're going to take another wheel here and just set it on top. Let's just throw a little bit more glue on this one. Just a little bit. Now we're just going to set that on top. And then we're going to do the same thing with this one here. We're going to add a little glue to it. You want to stay away from that hole in the center, because you don't want no glue to go in there, because the axle dowel's got to ride in there. And we're going to take that. We're going to put that on top of there. And then we're going to do the same thing over here. Put a little glue on that wheel. Stay away from the center. And you're going to stack it on there. Now, to keep these nice and even, what I got is a 3/8 bolt, 4 inches long. Got a washer on this end. I'm going to take this and I'm going to slide that bolt completely through all these wheels. See that? That is perfectly smooth right here. They're all the same size. And then I'm just going to take and put a washer on that. And I'm going to put a bolt, a nut on there. And just kind of tighten that up a little bit. It doesn't matter if a little bit of glue squeezes out on the outside here, because we're going to sand this anyway a little bit more. And that bolt will hold that set of wheels together, and it'll keep the inside hole clean, because you want that clean because your axle needs to go through this wheel. So we'll set that aside. That's all ready to go. We'll grab our 3-inch wheels, and we can do the same thing with the 3-inch wheels. We'll put some glue on them. Probably don't need a whole lot to hold these together. We'll do the same thing on this one. Put some more here. You don't need a whole lot of glue, because you want to keep that glue away from that hole in the middle. And stick that on there, kind of give it a twist, and do the same thing with this one here. Give it a twist a little bit. Now we'll take another 4-inch bolt with a washer on it first. Stick it through there, and see how that? Nice and smooth. And that's why using that jig that I use makes these wheels nice and round. You're not trying to cut these exactly round. And we just take a washer on there and put a nut on here. And just give it a couple twists tight. Now we're just going to let that dry. And that'll dry it to a nice solid one wheel. This would be your 3-inch wheel on this side. And this will be your 2-inch wheels on this side. We're going to let them dry. We have everything on the car here that fits nice. Dowels all go through. What I want to say is, now, this, like I said, the seat determines the width. The seat and the windshield determines the width of this car. Let me just see if I can show you here. If I squeeze this together, just the way the seat's going to be, and I take this wheel, because I can pull this dowel out to put the wheel in, okay? This wheel is not going to fit in between there. It's a little tight. See? So what we're going to have to do, because you want your wheel to spin, is just a little bit. So once this is all dry, and I take the bolt out, we're going to run this on the sander just to shorten this up just a little bit, just under 3 inches, so it fits in there and turns. Because if you look on this car over here, you look on this car, see how this wheel has got a little bit of play in it. That's what you want, a little bit of play, so that wheel spins. So we're going to let these dry, because you don't want to, and another thing you don't want to do, you don't want to glue your seat and windshield in before you put your wheel on and test it. You want to put, because see how close, I don't know if you can see it, but see how close, let me get my pointer here. See how close the wheel is to this windshield? And how close the wheel is to the back of the seat? You don't want to glue your seat and windshield in, your dashboard in, and then you can't get your wheel on. So before you glue this all together, you're going to slip your wheel on that dowel on the front and back, and then you're going to glue your seat and dashboard in, because that'll determine where that goes, because then you'll be able to slide your wheel on. Don't glue these in first and then try to get your wheel on, because maybe you glued it in the wrong spot. That's the one thing that's really important. So we're going to let these 2 items dry. We got everything that fits good, dry fit. That's really important. And then I have my last dowel right here. It's the 3/8 dowel. This is the one that sits up here on the car. Sits up underneath the frame. I have an X on this, a black X on each end of this. That just tells me I didn't sand this dowel, because you don't need to sand this one. It doesn't need to fit through these holes on this. All it does is gets glued up underneath the frame right here. So I marked it with a Sharpie just so I know this, I don't get this mixed up. So we'll let these dry. We'll come back and see if we can get some of this put together. All right, guys, we are back here. I got the wheels off the bolts. Remember, they're on the bolts here. I took the bolts out, and then I also went on my disc sander, and I shortened up the width of this wheel. I just kind of went on the disc sander and sanded a little bit on that side, sanded a little bit on that side, and made that wheel so it would fit in between these two side frames. So let me just show you how that works. And then also, when you take these off the bolts, you may have to sand your dowels a little bit more. You want to make sure your wheel spins on that dowel. That's what you want. So what we're going to do is we'll start putting the wheels on, and you run your dowel through the frame part here, and you stick your wheel in here, and you run your dowel through. So that's the first one. And then we're going to take and put this other one in, because you want to put your wheels in before you glue your seats in and stuff. So we're just going to stick this in here, get this wheel put in the back. Okay, and like I said, these dowels are longer than what they need to be. We're going to cut them off later. But you can see here, if I put my seat in, if I set my seat in here and squeeze it, you can see I got a little bit of play on that wheel. You want that wheel to be able to spin, because like I said, the seat is what determines the width of your car. And you want both the back and the front wheel to spin nice. So once you got that, leave your wheels in. I have a little 1/2-inch piece of Baltic birch here, just a small piece. I'm going to set that down here, and if you set your car on it, you can see I can set my seat right on that piece of wood right there. And that's going to determine, the wheel is going to determine where you glue your seat. So I can actually put my seat right about there, and if you can see, there's enough room behind that seat to turn that wheel, and that's where you want to glue that seat in. And the same with the dashboard here. That goes up front right here. You want to make sure there's enough room in the front for that dashboard gets glued in. You want to make sure there's enough room so that wheel turns. So this is where the dashboard and the seat is going to get glued. So we're going to glue them two pieces in, and then we'll have to let it dry, and then we'll come back. So we're just going to take, well, what I'm going to do is that's where the seat is about going to be. Let me just kind of get it where I think it's going to be here. Okay, so I'm just going to take my pencil here, and I'm going to kind of mark where I need to throw some glue. I'm just marking where that seat's going to come. Where I need to put some glue on there. So we'll take the seat out. And I don't know if you can see it, but you can see where I got to put some glue there and put some glue right in here. So we're just going to take, move my cam here a little bit here. We're just going to take a little bit of glue here with a toothpick. You don't need a lot of glue to hold this together, because you don't want too much glue squeezing out, and then you got to sit and try to clean it up. Put a little glue on each side of your seat right here. And we're going to do the same thing with the windshield, or I mean the dashboard here. We just put a little glue right on each side right here. Okay, so we'll stick the let's stick the seat in first. Get that seat set in there where we want it. And I use these small little clamps like this to clamp things. So we basically got the seat where we want it right in there. So now we're gonna just kind of hold it, try to hold it a little bit we get that dashboard set in there. It's kind of hard to do, but you're going to have to just kind of work at it. And you're going to have to work at it, try to get it where you want it. It doesn't have to be real close to the wheel. You want to make sure your wheel turns after you got the seat. And you want to make sure your front wheel turns after you got the dashboard in. Now, I'm holding it. We got to get a clamp on this. So we're just going to get this clamp on here. And give it a good clamp. And that should hold it. You can see right here my front wheel turns and my back wheel turns. And then in the bottom right here you can see. Now there's going to be glue to clean up. So we're going to have to clean some glue up. Let me grab a paper towel. Some toothpicks here. Just going to have to kind of clean up some glue a little bit. I think I'm pretty good. Okay, so I think we're pretty good here. Get a little glue cleaned up right here. Now I'm using Tight Bond wood glue. That's about the best glue to use on these kind of projects. I see there's some glue right in here. Okay, so we got all that glued, I believe. We got that good to go. We're going to let that dry, and then we're going to come back, and we're going to start gluing in these little 1/8" dowels that hold everything together on top here. So we'll let that dry, and then we'll be right back. Alright guys, we are back. I got the seat all glued in and the dashboard glued in right where it needs to be. We're going to go ahead and start gluing some of these 1/8" dowels in to hold this all in place. So what I'm going to do is glue this bottom one in first. You don't need a whole lot of glue to put these in. So all I'm going to do is just pull this dowel out a little bit. Try to get some glue in the hole here a little bit. And then we're going to put some on the dowel itself. You probably only need glue on one side. We're just going to bring it in, because once it's glued on one side, it's not going to move. We're just going to bring it in to where it's sticking out just a little bit because we're going to sand that off. And I don't think I'm going to worry about this side because once this side is glued, well, okay, this is what I'm going to do. I think I'm going to stick a little more glue. I'll stick a little glue right in here. And see if I can't get some in that hole on this side. We'll stick it right through. So it sticks out a little bit. And that should be good right there. It's a lot longer than what we need, but that'll glue up really nice right there. And the next ones we got to glue is these ones on top. And these don't go all the way across. These just hold this piece in right here. And what's nice about this little spacer board that I got that we used underneath the car, it's 4 3/4 inches long. If you take that and set that right like this, that's exactly the height that these need to be, level across. So when we go and get these glued, I'm going to set this on there like that to hold that. So what I'm going to do, try to do this the best we can. Take these dowels out a little bit. We're going to add some glue. Hopefully you can, I don't know if you can see it, but we're going to add some glue right on that side there, right where the dowel is, where it gets glued in. We'll try to get some glue inside that hole right there. And then we'll stick that dowel back in there. And then we're going to do the same thing over here. It's kind of hard to do, but once you get it glued, it's not going to go nowhere. Just going to get some glue in that hole right there. And then we're going to just get a little glue right here where that dowel, where that side frame piece glues on there. And you don't need a lot. Just going to stick that through so it comes through just a little bit. And now we have that. And now we're going to get this here dowel up here glued. And I'm just going to take and push this dowel out. And that's why you need these dowels to go in and out of these holes easy, because you got to kind of take things apart as you're gluing this. Stick a little on the dowel right here. Kind of turn it as you go in there so you can get some glue in there. And I think we're going to be okay. Set your spacer block right there. Make sure them are tight there. And I think we're going to be okay. We got enough glue and all that. We're going to let that sit for a while. And then we're going to come back, because you really want these to dry nice. And then we're going to come back and we're going to snip these dowels off and do some sanding, because you want them dowels nice and flush so nothing's sticking out. So we're going to let this dry, I'd say maybe for about an hour, and then we'll come back and try to finish this up. All right, guys, we are back. Got the top all glued here. The pieces are all in, nice and sturdy. You can actually pick the vehicle up from the top. It's all holds nice. What we got to do is snip off these dowels now. And what I use is just front snippers right here. And we can just go here and snip these off. Snip them off the best you can, because we're gonna sand these, and I'll show you how we're gonna sand these. That one, okay, we got them all snipped off. And what I do for sanding these, I got these. I take paint sticks, and I put different grits of sandpaper on the paint sticks. That way you can sand small areas. So this one I got 120 on, and this one here I got 80 grit on. So all you got to do is just go here and to the edge, and you can just take and hold it and sand that dowel flush. It sands up really nice and smooth across there. You can do the same thing with every one that you snipped off. Just be kind of careful so you don't break anything. They all sand off nice and smooth. Come over here, sand this one off. And that dowel is nice and flush at the side. Do the same thing over here. And then we come over here to do this one. Okay, I think we got everything sanded smooth. You can see how nice that looks. They're all nice and smooth on there. So we're getting here. So the next thing you want to do is these axles for the wheels. We're going to cut them a little shorter now, because we need to actually put these little pins in. On this one I made here, it's got little pins in that hold the axle in. So we're just going to take this axle and pull it. I just guess a little ways, just leave a little ways out. I'll take my pencil and mark it so far out like this here. Go like this and mark. I just guess how long it's going to be. And then we can just take these out and cut these axles shorter right there. And that's what I'm going to go and do. So we'll be back in 1 second. All right, guys, I got my axles cut to the right length I want them. I'm just going to take some sandpaper here and just kind of sand the ends a little bit. Kind of make them a little round, you know, just soften up the ends just a little bit. Don't have to be perfect. Okay, so the next thing we're going to do, we're going to go and drill some 1/8 inch holes on the ends of these dowels to stick them little pins in. So we'll head over to the drill press. All right, guys, at the drill press, I got a V block here. I cut a V in this block of wood right here. That way I can lay round dowels in there to drill. And what we're going to do is just drill some holes on the ends of these axles. Let me grab one thing here. I'm going to make a mark with my awl right here so my drill bit will maybe follow that. And these don't have to be drilled in the same place. Let's see how that works. All right, we'll just put that in there. You might have to go pretty slow. You just want to drill a hole in the end of that dowel. Alright, got our holes on the end of the dowel. Hopefully I got them drilled in the right place. I didn't really measure, but it should be okay. We're going to head back over to the workbench and get these put in. Alright, we got the dowels cut at the length that we want. Now, the pieces that I snipped off from these other ones, if you hang on to them pieces, you should be able to use them little chunks to put into your axles. So I'm going to pull an axle out. We're going to take a little glue with a toothpick. And we're just going to try to get a little glue in that hole. And then we're going to stick one of these in there. And I know these, if you use the pieces that you cut off the top and all these longer ones, you know they already fit through 1/8 inch holes because you already had them in an 1/8 inch hole. So you can just take that there and kind of push it around like that. And then you got one in there like that there. Now you can take that and slide that back on the car. Because we're going to snip them off too a little bit. Now we take the other axle off. And we're going to do the same thing. Just try to get a little glue in there. Here's a small piece right here. Might not even have to snip it off. See, that's all you really need to keep that axle from coming out. And then we're going to slip that one in. Okay, so we have that. Now what we're going to do is take our toothpick with a little glue. We're going to put some in there. Now I'm actually going to Where's my snippers here? I'm actually going to cut this one in half. And we're going to stick that. You can see right here, we're just going to put that in there. We'll go up from the bottom. Put that one in there. Now we're gonna, I'm actually gonna snip this one off a little shorter. And we're gonna stick some glue in that hole. And then we're going to stick that pin in there. And you don't want to get clean up any glue that you might get on the car here. That way you got your axles in. Now your wheels ain't going to come off. The car rolls nice. We are going to let them dry a little bit. Now, remember that last dowel that we had? Remember that early in the video I had a dowel that had X's on the... That's the one that goes on top right here. Goes on top of the vehicle. It's actually this dowel right here that goes underneath the roof. We're going to glue that one on. And basically, I'm just going to use a couple of these clamps. We're just going to put some glue on this car. Best thing to do is just tip the car upside down, because the dowel actually is going to get glued right there, so you can kind of see where the glue has to be on the car. You can kind of see. So we're just going to stick some glue where it needs to be. Right there. And right there. And then same over here. Right there. You really don't need too much glue. I always tend to put too much glue in, but we just go like that. And then what we're going to do is put that dowel right there. And we're just going to take this clamp and clamp it right there. And oops. And we're going to clamp it right there. And that should dry up really nice right there. Pretty much everything's done on the car except doing the cloth roof. Oh, one more thing. Well, I got the little handbrake here. That little handbrake that goes on the side of the car. We'll do that we'll do that last, because then we can lay the car on the side and do it. So we'll let this dry, and then we'll come back and work on the roof. Alright guys, we are back. I got this big dowel going across the center right here. I got that glued on, and also I glued on this handbrake right here. All you gotta do is set the car on the side. Um, you can use this block right here just to kind of make it level and set that on there and glue that. We're ready to put the cloth on the top. So here's the cloth that I picked out. It's a leopard print type cloth. You can, any fabric store, you can get any kind of cloth you want to use for the top. The cloth on the top is going to be 3 inches wide. To go according to the plans on this vehicle, it's always going to be 3 inches wide. So what we're going to do, you cut yourself a piece of cloth and you just lay it, you got to bring it in here through the vehicle and lay it like this here, because it's actually going to be glued to this bottom dowel first. So what we're going to do is we're going to put some glue on that bottom dowel, and then we're going to use some clothespins to hold that on there. So let's just stick some glue on this bottom dowel. You want enough glue on there to hold that cloth. Just kind of put it around there. Okay, so once you got the glue on that bottom dowel, you're going to take this cloth and you're going to put it through the car right here in the center right here. And you're going to kind of fold it around. You're going to kind of fold it around that dowel. Okay. Thought I had a little pliers here, but you're going to take that, lay it on that dowel, and then you're going to take your clothespins and you're going to clothespin this around that dowel just to hold that. And I think 5 clothespins fits across here. Really nice. And you're just going to let that, and now you got it held on, you're just going to let that dry. We're going to let that dry for a little bit, and then we're going to come back, because what's going to happen is once you take the clothespins off, we're going to take that cloth and fold it underneath that dowel and bring it around the top here. So we're going to let this dry for about, I don't know, maybe half an hour or so, and then we'll be back. Alright guys, we are back. I took the clothespins off here. This is nice and dry right around here. The next thing you're going to do is you're going to take this cloth and you're going to bend it and bring it underneath this here and wrap it around. So basically, you're just going to take this cloth here, fold it under. It's kind of a little bit hard to do, but you're going to kind of get that cloth folded under here. Let me see if I can do this. And maybe take a little needle nose pliers. And you're gonna pull that cloth through underneath here. And see how I'm pulling it through? It's gonna come around and wrap around that bottom dowel. and then it's going to come across here. Now, what I did is I cut a little hole in the back here for the window. You don't need to do that, but the original Flintstone car has a hole in the back here for the rear window. So you're just going to take this cloth, go around here, just cut yourself a hole, and then you can see that it's going to glue right on top of this dowel right here, and it's going to glue on top of this dowel up in the front. So basically all you got to do is put some glue on them two dowels, and that's what we're going to do. And you can kind of see where the glue's got to go. It's got to go more towards the bottom half, but just stick some glue right in here. Want enough. The glue holds pretty good. And then you're going to put some glue on this top dowel over here. And then you're just going to take your cloth and wrap it around your car, like this here. You're going to bring it around, kind of give it a little pull right here. And then you're just going to take some clothespins, and you can put a clothespin right there. You can put a clothespin right there. Stick a clothespin right in there. Now, we're going to let that dry. Once that is dry, what we can do, well, we can actually do this now maybe. You can see that this is a lot longer than what we need. So we're just going to take a scissors, and we're just going to cut this off, because what you're going to end up, here's the car I did. You're going to end up, and you're going to kind of chop the front of that, like this here, on that car. So you don't need a whole lot hanging over. We're just going to take this here and cut this about, oh, maybe right about there. See, I just cut that off right there. You can always shorten it up if you want to go a little shorter, but that looks pretty good right there. So we'll let that dry, and then when I come back next time, I'll have the front end all cut, and I'll have it all cut like this here. When I come back, I'll have it finished, and then we'll just talk a little bit more, and then that should probably pretty much do it with this video. But we'll let this dry, and then we'll come back. All right, guys, we are back. I took the clothespins off the front here, and everything is held on really nice. You can see I cut the front of this kind of jagged a little bit to make it look a little nicer. Pretty much the vehicle is done. You can put different colors of top on this. It doesn't have to be this leopard print. So we are pretty much done with this build. I just want to go over a few things. I'll put some links below in the description. Lloyd's toy plans. I'll put down there his website. I might have another link that you might be able to get this plan from, that I think Lloyd is associated with. But other than that, just make sure that when you build this vehicle, you take your time, especially sanding all the dowels that go in all these holes, because you want everything to move really nice. You can see the wheel spins really nice. You want, and the dowels actually move. You want to make sure everything works good. So when you go to put it together, because there's times you have to take things apart and stuff. So just really spend some time sanding them dowels to make them all fit in the holes. You don't want to force dowels in these small parts, because you could break the parts. In my past videos, you'll know that I make a lot of templates for my toys. You can do that. Make all the different templates if you want and trace them. Or you can actually just cut out the paper pattern and glue it to your pieces of wood too. You can do it that way too. I did not go exactly according to this plan. You don't have to. Here it shows making a seat. You do 6 different 1/2 inch thick pieces to create that 3 inch wide seat. I went with 4 pieces of 3/4. That works just as well. Either way works. And just like here too, it shows the template for the top, this cloth top. Well, I didn't really go by that. I just cut a piece of 3 inch, and you seen how I did it. I just came over with it and glued it. Make sure you get yourself some bolts. These are 3/8 bolts by 4 inches long. Comes in really handy for gluing these wheels together, and you've seen that in the video. And then you can also make some templates for drawing your wheels, so you don't have to use one of them compasses or whatever you call them. I'm not sure, but you can just draw the 2 inch and 3 inch wheels on your wood. I'll put a link to, you can get different toy parts like these axle pegs I used for the steering wheel. I'll put a link for that. They got a ton of toy parts. And then also, you seen I used some sandpaper on some paint sticks. That's a handy little trick to do. That way you can sand them little pieces off to your cut after you glue them. Then obviously you got to use a little snippers here to cut them 1/8 inch dowels. That works really nice. And if you keep the pieces that you cut off, you can always use them for the little dowels that you got to stick in your axles. So a lot of little things here and there. If you got any questions, let me know in the comments. If you want to know how I did something. The jig that I used to make these wheels, and you see me do that with that jig on my disc sander. I think I might do a video on how to make that jig. It's not that hard. But if you got any questions about that, that jig works really nice for making really nice round wheels, not only for this car, but if you're making other cars that you need perfectly round wheels, you don't have to cut them on your scroll saw. You can use that jig and they come out really nice. Also, this little block of wood here that I used, it works nice, and I showed you before, when you go to glue your seat in your dashboard here, you can set your dashboard and your seat right on that block of wood, and then you're not trying to hold that at a certain place, because then after it's dried, you can see they're nice. They're sitting in here exactly the way you want them. And then what's nice about this block of wood, you cut it to the length that I got here, 4 3/4 inches. And I'll show you here. When you go to glue these top pieces in, so they're not moving all around, you can always just stick this template block right there. And when you go to glue these in, you can set that on there, and that'll glue tight exactly to this height right here, because that's the height that it needs to be. And if you look here, here's the car that we built. Here's the car that I built a long time ago. And you can see they are exactly the same height, exactly. So if you're making more of these cars, if you want to use this template, it's good to use this template, because you're going to get every car exactly the same. On the car I built a long time ago, I used my wood burner, and I burnt some X's over them dowels, kind of did some burning on the axles a little bit. You can dowel these up any way you want. I didn't do it on this one just to save time, but you can use your own imagination and just kind of dowel this up if you want a little bit here and there. So I think that's pretty much it. If you liked the video, give me a thumbs up and ring that bell and hit that subscribe button. My next video I'm going to do is going to be another Flintstone vehicle. It's going to be much easier than this one and probably a lot quicker, but it's going to be a fun video, so keep an eye on that. And so we're going to call this video done. So we'll see you guys on the next video.